Today on Locked On Rockies, will it be all tricks or will there be treats for the Colorado Rockies in 2026?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock On Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 31st day of October in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast saying happy Halloween and welcoming you into the Locked On Rockies podcast where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot because that's what we do around here every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, just like all of you have been doing throughout the offseason, because there's a lot of questions on a lot of folks' minds this offseason. So what are you thinking about? What's on your mind? What are your Rockies hot takes? Let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comments section below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to have some fun today, just doing some big picture stuff, things that I think could be big treats for the Rockies in 2026 and what might be some tricks. We'll talk a little bit, of course, about the World Series, and there might be an option for the Rockies to look at when it comes to becoming a better base dealer. But reminder, as always, when you like the videos, when you subscribe, when you share, it really helps the show grow, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day and for sharing with your friends. So we've obviously been talking big picture. We've obviously been talking a lot of hypotheticals with what's going to be up for the Rockies. Let's kind of talk about what possibly might go well for them in terms of the words and in the possibilities of the of treats. What can be a treat for the Rockies? And initially, the treat for the Rockies, honestly, could just be whatever this offseason ends up looking like. Now, I think a lot of people are already feeling like the search, even if it's going to be outside of the organization, that might itself feel like a trick because it's going to, we're taking a while. The offseason's already churning. Obviously, teams can't do as much until the World Series ends, and the World Series will be ending as soon as tomorrow or over the weekend. So next week we will see a champion crowned. The baseball season, off season specifically, will officially be well underway next week. And now, if you're you're in the Rockies position, you're close to a month through, you're being done playing games, and in reality, you should be in a spot where you're feeling comfortable and confident with where you're at and how you're executing your off-season plan as you navigate all this transition. But I think one of the main treats for the Rockies could just be fresh perspective, fresh eyes. The treat could be the Rockies front office being able, encouraged and allowed to and does its job. The treat could be that, hey, we're going to be aggressive this offseason. We know we need to bring in some major league talent, so we're going to go out and sign some deals. I think that's the initial thing where one of the biggest positives or things that could be intriguing, at least to watch throughout this offseason, is just the possibility. The options. I mean, and that's a pretty open-ended topic. I mean, when you're talking about, you could go in certain directions, you can get creative. One thing that's really, when we're talking about like managers and things like that, I mean, and coaching staffs, as we've talked about throughout this week, man, we're seeing teams in baseball go with really young guys. The Giants just bringing in a guy that comes from the college ranks. The Nationals just brought in a 33-year-old manager, Warren Schaefer, one of the younger guys after moving on from one of the old guards of baseball, and Bud Black. It's kind of nice to be going into as much question marks and as much concerns as you have and issues with everything going on with the Rockies. at least it is kind of nice going into this offseason, not thinking that it's going to just kind of, because it literally can't just be status quo, right? For the Rockies, they have to do something differently here. And that makes for things to be a little bit more engaging. I mean, last offseason was so painfully boring when we're talking about the Rockies not doing much, when we're talking about the Rockies just really doubling and tripling down with where they were at and the status of the organization and the people in the organization as well. You know, we were told to kind of just hold on to hope that Estrada was going to be the big signing that was going to change everything for the Colorado Rockies, when in fact it just kind of there should have been. I should have been sounding the alarms way sooner because of the lack of the inactivity and the state of the roster going into the season last year. But I was, cursed by hopium, thinking that a new season, it was going to be bringing new possibilities for the team. But this offseason, there has to be change, right? We're already seeing it. We're seeing it with the people that have moved on. We're seeing it from the fact that, that they're going through this process. So for me, that's kind of a treat. It's just the possibility that of who knows what could happen. And that's okay for now. But ask me again in a month if it's still stagnant, if it's still, not doing much, because there needs to be some actions and things and shuffling going on as soon as the Rockies bring in the new leadership there. Another treat that I think a healthy Ezequiel Tovar paired with Hunter Goodman, paired with hopefully a breakout season or a more consistent season from Jordan Beck, I think 2026 could show the Rockies having a couple of guys that are going to be interesting, are going to be good baseball players. Are we talking great? Are we talking greatest in the league? Are we talking good enough for a crazy swing of wins? No. But I think these younger guys are going to be interesting. And I do think that Brenton Doyle if he can come into the season next year, in a better spot. Of course, my hat's falling off here, so sorry. I know my interesting, the everyday getup. Sometimes this big head of mine makes it a little hard to wear a hat. But anyway, I think these young guys can be a really exciting group of players for the Colorado Rockies, especially if they're paired with an interesting free agent bat. Somebody that is going to come in and provide a little bit more thump and make it so we don't have to just say, oh, the offense is totally reliant on these guys. As much as they can and should be the stars for the Colorado Rockies, I think that a nice treat would be to add add on to that. But I think Tovar has a lot of experience now navigating the injury, kind of, experiencing a lot through his time becoming the starting shortstop for the Rockies. And I think a lot of guys went through, the ups and downs and some growing pains throughout last year as well. They are going to go into this season knowing that they are the ones, if there's going to be a big change, if the Rockies are going to be a different team next year, if the Rockies are going to be a better team next year, a lot of that responsibility falls on those four players specifically. They have to be the ones that are going to lead the charge into being a better team, being a more competitive team. They need to show growth in the areas of strikeouts. They need to become, in Hunter Goodman's case, a better defender. And for Brenton Doyle and Ezequiel Tovar to go back to their Gold Glove great defensive ways. This is these guys can be, total game changers, total treats for the Colorado Rockies in 2026. But the question, the looming part, it could be a prank. I think one thing that's unfortunately, that when we're talking about tricks here, going with the theme here, is it's clear that there is doubts about Bill Schmidt's ability to evaluate players, at least in the wake of all of this here. This is a situation here where I just am not sure how much, what is that going to look like? I mean, we're talking about the creative trades, and just to kind of bank off of that, how much change are we going to see with maybe some of these young guys? How many of these young guys are the Rockies possibly going to move on from? And what truly will be the state of the Rockies farm system when it gets this evaluation from a different person from that hasn't been within the organization and preach and stay quiet, stay patient. These guys are coming. We got greatness on the way. We haven't seen it yet. So until we see these this next wave of guys take at the minor league level, until we see some of the younger guys of the Rockies take that next step, it is really going to be banking on those four guys, Beck, Doyle, Tovar, and Goodman, to be the key parts of the Rockies offense, especially. And the defense needs to be better. Unfortunately, the biggest trick that we dealt with, or one of them, I should say, was the fact that this team was supposed to be great defensively, and they were horrible defensively. So a treat in 2026 would be returning to the defensive greatness that we expected. Again, we weren't sitting here. I am guilty of it as well. I was going into the season last year saying that when you're talking about the names here, when you're talking about the Gold Gloves, when you're talking about the defensive capabilities of the Colorado Rockies, this should be a team that's going to steal games because their defense is so good. They're going to be able to shut some people down at Coors Field and be able to navigate the pitching. Instead, they crumbled. Instead, they took steps backwards. Both Tovar and Doyle, I know they dealt with injuries, but both of them took steps backwards defensively last year, and that just can't happen. It's got to be full steam ahead. It's got to be steps ahead. You got to be top dog when it comes to defense. I think that's going to be something. The Rockies have been a team that has been better on defense in the past, and good defense has to be the standard for them. And that was not the case in 2026. But I really do think that these guys have good seasons ahead. I don't know. I don't want to overhype or overbelieve or get ahead of myself here when we're talking about next year for these guys. But I think all of these guys are capable of contributing at the major league level and being better versions of themselves. And it'd be really interesting to see what this version of Doyle and Tovar specifically will look like, as they've both navigated now a couple of seasons, navigated the injuries, navigated these tough seasons for the Colorado Rockies. It'll be interesting to see where they're at when it comes to that. So another treat that would be nice for the Colorado Rockies would be coming from stealing more bases. I want to talk about the fact that the Rockies might have an opportunity here to bring someone in that can help them steal some bases. And how important do you think base stealing is? Let me know what you think would be tricks or treats for the Rockies here, because the other big trick that I fell for in 2025 that I'm certainly not going to fall for in 2026, hyping up that Rockies starting rotation. They got a lot of work to do there. But those are the treats for 2026. I think the young core, I think base stealing opportunities, as we're going to talk about coming up, and just a treat of a new philosophy, a new team, a lot of new. I think that's going to be the biggest treat for the Rockies. Let's talk about stealing bases coming up next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least two players' stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You can use PrizePicks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs to keep every game exciting. And you can use the new stack feature, so you just pick a player, and like Steph Curry, for example, and you can pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot saves your lineup from a loss. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Locked On Rockies here, back with you, bringing you daily Colorado Rockies talk. free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to, let's see here. Tim asks, do the Rockies even have anyone looking around in Japan? I don't necessarily know the answer to that question, to be totally honest. I know the Rockies, I know they have some international stuff, but again, this is another area or another situation where the Rockies, it needs to be completely reevaluated. I think when this is another area in which the Rockies are going to have to explore, being a spot that makes that international talent interested in coming here. And to do that, you got to be an exciting team, a team that's competitive. These great team players from the Japanese league, especially as Tim was mentioning here, they're not going to come and sign with the Rockies when they're in a rebuilding team. They basically just did their grind through the Japanese leagues to give them the best opportunity to go be successful in Colorado, or I'm sorry, in America, and Colorado's not offering success. And I mean, maybe some of them are going to go and be interested in, taking on the challenge. But I think most of them are going to focus on, I want to play in the big lights and the big moments and in the competitive and on the competitive stage. And the Rockies don't really offer that. Let's see here. Darian says, I do think Mickey Moniak should be moved. I think you cash in as you still have a lot of outfield prospects. That will be an interesting one to watch when we were talking about creative trades yesterday for the Rockies. I think he's going to be someone to watch as if he continues to play well. He's also got the baggage of before, though. So are there a lot of people just going to sit there and say Coors Field merchant? I don't know. Let's see here. Jim says, you always ask the right questions, Paul. I don't really need to add anything. I have no doubt that people like Mike Kliss, Broncos Insiders, ask the right questions when needed. I don't know what kind of schedule Patrick Lyons, Rockies Insider, has, but even though I have heard him be brutally honest about the Rockies, I would love to hear more from him as we do from you about the reality of the Rockies. Hey, Patrick is wonderful. Patrick is a must follow, and the Rockies Insider is a must follow when you're talking about Rockies coverage. He is one of the best in the biz there. And Patrick, friend of the show as well, long overdue, bringing him back. Do you think the Rockies will send Chris Bryant packing, or maybe make him a high-paid coach, or to at least earn some of the money? All I've heard that is he may be done for as a player. They're at this stage. I've now been on this podcast since the 2020 season, or since 2020, some point. But I have had to do Chris Bryant speculation all off season long. What if Chris Bryant comes back? What's Chris Bryant going to be? I don't know. I don't know what the Rockies do with Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's the highest paid member of the Colorado Rockies, and he will continue to do so. And he is yet to. He still is. It's rehashing everything. I don't know what the Rockies do with Chris Bryant. I don't really know what the options truly will be with the when it comes to Chris Bryant. I don't know how many there are, other than if he retires, or what that looks like. I mean, again, the last time, let me see. The last report from Chris Bryant is from July. I don't know. I'm just looking here, but you're seeing headlines. I'm seeing a headline here from June. Bryant increases rehab activity, but running causing soreness. No timetable for DH Bryant's return to Rockies. It's I don't know. And it's a conversation I'm going to keep having. So, but to answer right now, I literally have no fathom of an idea of what the Rockies are going to be, what they can do with Chris Bryant. One thing that might be an interesting move for the Rockies here is trying to go after Anton Richardson, who was a coach in the Mets system. He was the Mets first base coach since 2024, held the same role with the Giants from 2020 to 2023, and was previously San Francisco's minor league field coordinator and minor league outfield coordinator. This is from Steve Adams on MLBTradeRumors.com. With 1/3 blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to go here. But basically, this coach here was one of the reasons why the Mets were able to become a really great base stealing team here. And I want to read a little bit here from Skylar Timmons, and I'm going to read a little bit from Lindsey Crosby as well when it comes to reactions to this news here. Skylar says, we've heard for years how much the Rockies wish they could steal more bases. Maybe they need to get a guy that can really help with that. And that is, Anton Richardson here was this, and I want to go now find a quote from now. He used to host Locked On MLB Prospects, but he instead or he now does I believe the Locked On Braves postcast. Let me just find this here. And again, this is a guy that locked in with following the being in the division and stuff like that. Okay, here's what Lindsey Crosby said about this. The Mets were the slowest team in baseball this year and yet had one of the highest stolen base totals. Don't overlook Richardson's ability to improve a roster through technique and scouting for stolen base opportunities. The Rockies got some speed. The Rockies have some guys that can steal bases. The Rockies were a more aggressive team. Under Schaefer, they were more aggressive with stealing bases, but they weren't very good at it. If they can unlock the potential and to becoming someone that if they can bring somebody in that's going to be able to take what the Rockies have and be able to start doing that, and that becomes a strength, that's going to be a little small. We're talking tricks and treats, right? Instead of it being a trick, instead of being like, we got some of these speeds, and again, we're talking about the Mets being a really little slow team. We're talking about the Rockies having some speed options, having some guys with the ability to steal bases. This could be the sneaky way to start driving up some runs here. This can be the sneaky way to put yourself in some runners in scoring position, making it so it doesn't even have to be sneaky. This can be a situations where you can set yourself up for, really making things get out of hand early at Coors Field if you're able to get guys on base and then they're able to start stealing bags here. When we're looking at the top base stealers here in baseball, out of the top, there is a tie here. So roughly top 10 here. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nearly half of the top 10 teams in base stealing were playoff teams. And others were close, at least. The Rangers, at least in the mix for a bit of the year. Not really actually so much. I'm actually a little wrong there. But the Rays also. So the Rays and the Rangers kind of being, fringe there. But when I see a team like the Marlins, why were they able to, I think this is a big reason why they're able to win ball games. 138 stolen bases. The Rockies were 23rd in baseball with 87 stolen bases, only 2 more than the White Sox and the Astros here. And surprising, the Blue Jays, they don't really need to steal a lot of bases. They're only at 77 this year because they just hit the hell out of the ball and and get the job done. But when you're looking for an area of the game, if the Rockies can succeed at, if you're looking for an area of the game that might be one of those things that hey, in our ballpark and in our environment, if we can get moving, if we can get running, we're going to put a lot of pressure on teams, and we can put a lot of pressure on teams early. Now, that's also going to cause some wear and tear, and the Rockies, of course, with altitude, are going to deal with more of that as in the science of it all. But that shouldn't let you shy away from the fact that this can be something that this is stealing bases is going to be a fundamental part of success in baseball. Good teams have been using the rules and getting aggressive on the base paths. And if you got a guy that's going to be able to come in there and really help you unlock it, I think that's going to be a way to help jumpstart this Rockies offense and put some runners in scoring position that the Rockies then, of course, will need to hit in, which has been a challenge. But I think that I think this is a weapon, an underutilized weapon for the Colorado Rockies, as it always has been. All right, let's talk about the Dodgers on the ropes here to finish out the week. As when we talk next, a World Series champion will be crowned. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. You can even do the parlays. You can do futures. You can see it all for yourself on the easy-to-use and secure app. You can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Yes, that's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Locked On Rockies here, coming to a close as the Dodgers are on the ropes here in the World Series. And what we've seen is just the fact that the the Blue Jays are just a really, 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 really good team. I mean, it's obviously, you know, that's a very obvious statement here to say that. They have just punished good pitching staffs. They have been such a force, and it just goes back to what I say. It's like that's a recipe for the Rockies, man. Obviously, it helps when you're able to call up a guy from Single A, who could come up and throw a splitter that basically drops out underneath and is one of the nastiest things that's going on in the postseason, and among a million things. But here's a really fascinating stat about the Blue Jays so far here. And this is from Paul Hembo on Twitter. Rockies starting pitchers, 6.65 ERA in 2025, highest by any rotation since earned runs became official in 1913. Yankees, Mariners, Dodgers starters versus Blue Jays. So 54 or 73 innings pitched for these starters. 6.66 ERA with 54 earned runs. I mean, it kind of puts into perspective of how bad the Rockies were, but that's more of a testament of just how good the Blue Jays are as an offense. And this is the thing where it's just like, hey, the Blue Jays spend a lot of money, a lot of retooling, and a lot of things, and everything's coming together at the right time. Blue Jays fans tell me about a new hitting coach. A lot of things went in to this. But what we're reminded of is, as much as we'll say that, and the Dodgers are going to be very much in a position to be right back in the same spot next year, and could very well still turn it around because they're the Dodgers and they're the evil empire and such. But they're not perfect. As much as I was hyping them up after the Marathon game, as much as I've talked about how the Dodgers are the big bad older brother, they're not perfect. And when you have the Blue Jays, outside of the first two games of the ALCS, have capitalized on opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And even when you're going up against a great team like the Dodgers, or going up against a great team like the Blue Jays, or whoever, the moral of the story is you got to cash in when you got your opportunities and you got your chances. And that's what the Blue Jays have been doing. And the Dodgers have not been doing a good enough job of eliminating those chances. It's a well-constructed team. It's a well-run team, and it takes a lot of resources and it takes a lot of effort to get to that point. It's going to take a long time before the Rockies come anywhere close to that. But the Dodgers, they're in trouble. And I don't think it's going to change too much. I mean, if anything changes in the offseason, it's just going to make them, more aggressive for bringing in talent, especially when you're talking about addressing bullpens, addressing starters. The blank check continues for the Dodgers, and it ain't going anywhere. But it'll be cool to see them take one off the chin, because a lot of people did not expect Toronto to be this good against the Dodgers. And the Blue Jays have made a couple of statements here as they're showing, hey, everyone's talked about pitching. Everyone's talked about the strengths of pitching. We hit, we mash. And that will be the secret to success for the Colorado Rockies one day. They got to mash. That's got to be a foundational part of what they do. Folks, that's going to do it for me here on this episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. If you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. You can also check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment, like the videos, hang out with us there. And folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.